It's going to be aggressive,
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and maybe sore. But it's not going to, you're not going to be like, I can no longer chew.
Oh yeah, man, look at that texture. Not only does it look really, really good, it feels great too. Welcome back, guys. Jim here once again, and we are taking a look at a new offering from Tuya Knife and Dave Warren. For those that don't know, Dave Warren is the U.S. sales representative and service for Tuya Knife. And every now and then he designs a knife and it has Tuya make it, and they've all been extraordinarily popular. I've been very, very happy to bring out many of his previous models. They've all done extremely well, very well received. People just love them. They get praised in reviews, and people are talking about them on the internet. And this is a huge departure for Dave and for Tuya on a number of different levels. Now, what we're looking at here is a front flipper. However, you guys know I absolutely despise front flippers. So when I was offered the opportunity to get one of these and review it and show it to everybody, I jumped on it because it had thumb studs. I'm like, okay, that's great. I'll be able to open it, flick it open however I'd like to, experience the knife without having to worry about the front flipper. But there was a wonderful surprise that I was not expecting. This knife front flips effortlessly. The detent is set perfectly. The geometry of the tang, the amount of jimping and the way the jimping was cut, and the geometry of the tang in relation to the pivot and the detent is honestly amazing. There has only ever been one front flipper that I've been able to consistently flip perfectly. Not just kind of roll it over, but actually get the detent to snap and go to full lock 100% of the time, and that is this, the Dawn V2 from TW Price Design. It is still to this day one of my favorite EDC knives. Now, I generally tend to reverse flick it because I just don't like having to change the position of the knife in my hand in order to deploy it. And that goes for all front flippers. That's why I despise front flippers. However, this one, it feels so good, so satisfying to front flip that you almost want to do it 100% of the time. Now, not only is it being a front flipper being a major, major difference for Tuya and for Dave, but getting a true compound grind on this S90V steel blade, that's another big deal because typically Tuya does a single grind, no matter what the blade shape is, and they work just fine. They're always beautifully done, beautifully ground, beautifully finished, and extremely, extremely sharp. Now we're getting the drama of a hollow to flat compound grind, and it really adds a lot to this overall design. I think this was exceptionally well done. I'm so happy for Dave that this came out the way that it did, because again, there's a lot of firsts here, and it had to be a little bit sketchy. Now, another thing that I like is the milling that's been done in this titanium frame lock. This is the diamond pattern. Not only does it look good, but it's nice and grippy without being sharp or tearing up any skin. And another thing is going to be the Damascus pivot collar, because Tuya really doesn't do pivot collars. And I know this not only from owning several Tuya knives in the past and currently, but also with working with them. One of the ideas I had proposed for my Caladan model when we were developing it was I wanted the flat pivot and I wanted a pivot collar. And at the time, they weren't ready to do that. There was something about it where they weren't able to get the pivot collar set in at the exact same height as the pivot, and they were worried it was going to look or feel sloppy in some way. So I was like, fine, I don't want to take the risk of it being sloppy in any way. Let's just forego the pivot collar, and we're not really going to worry about it. So I'm really happy to see that they've incorporated that into this design. It looks good. It was executed perfectly. And it's a very, very subtle touch of color on this otherwise all gray and silver knife because of the bee-blasted titanium and the satin finishes on the S90V steel blade. So it's just a little bit of a contrast. It's not overdone. It's not pimpy or anything like that. It's just well executed. Now, for those that have not handled one of Dave's designs, he's a lot like I am in the way that he wants his handles to be extremely ergonomic. It's got to feel like it's melted in the hand. And I wasn't sure this was going to feel quite as good as his previous designs. However, every bit of this is shaped perfectly. It feels utterly fantastic in the hand. And of course, the action is incredible. Perfect amount of tension on the lock bar so that it will just glide down nice and fast and easy. Once the detent breaks, it is almost frictionless on its open. Feels great. And it's very, very easy to get to the lock bar. There's a nice big cutaway here that allows you access to that lock bar very, very simply and very easily. Now, let's go ahead and get into the TLDW. We'll discuss the pros and the cons, and I'll make those as short as possible. Then we'll get to the specs. Then we'll get to the overall review, my thoughts, my feelings on the knife overall, and see where it goes from there. Okay, pros. Even though I've already gone over a few of these, I think it's important to go over them again. First pro is going to be the action. To be a front flipper that I actually enjoy front flipping is an enormous deal for me personally. I avoid all knives that are front flippers. If there's no other way to deploy the knife, I won't even consider it for my personal collection. But since this had the thumb studs, I figured, okay, this probably won't be in the way all that much. It's probably not going to irk me all that much. And I'm just going to thumb flick it with the studs and I'll be in good shape. And I was so pleasantly surprised the first time I hit that and saw that, oh my God, I haven't done it with the index finger. It does it that way too. I was like, oh my God, it actually flips really, really well. It's very snappy and it's been consistent. I don't think I've failed it once. You don't even have to really line up your fingers and your thumb perfectly and get the exact amount of tension like you do on some front flippers. It just goes. Next pro is going to be the ergonomics. I love the way this feels in the hand. If you haven't seen Dave Warren's NV designs, this is the NV-V4. And very much the same way, it melts into your hand. However, the Wrath is a more substantial feeling knife. It makes this one feel unrealistically lightweight. So if you know that you like the Envy, you're going to want to get a Wrath because it just feels that much better. Another pro is going to be the incredible milling design that's been done into the titanium frame. This diamond plate look is fantastic, and there are a number of different options you can go with. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption, but I promise I will make this very, very brief. I want to thank those of you that have joined and become channel members. You are helping to support the channel and helping to continue the growth. And if you've been considering supporting the channel in any way, shape, or form, because I do not have channel sponsors, I don't shill anybody's products, I don't get paid for anything, I don't do affiliate links. So everything is completely self-funded. If you'd like to help out and watch the channel grow and get more great content coming your way, please do consider becoming a member. And I was kind of torn as to which one I really wanted. I really like the diamond plate, and I really like the Sagaiha pattern, but it was really difficult to choose. And for another first, they're offering a true black DLC. Now, it's not like a black oxide coating on the blade. It's an actual true DLC, which is diamond-like carbon coating, which is stronger on the surface than the surface finish of the steel. So it's a little bit harder to scratch, and it's so thin that you can actually see the finish of the steel that's underneath. So in a version like this, where you have the belt satin grinds and the hand rub satin flats, you will actually see all the striations of the satin finish through the black DLC finish. That's huge. A lot of companies that call DLC, it's actually a black oxide PVD. PVD is the process. DLC is done in the same PVD process. It's just a different finish material that's being used on there, and it actually adds to the functionality of the knife as well as the beauty. Another pro is going to be the flat face pivots. I'm a big fan of flat face pivots. I just like how they look, and I like the minimal hardware look, because you only have, on one side, by the way, you only have the Torx head on that side. The other side does have the Tuya logo engraved. And I also love the pivot collar as well. But another big plus is going to be the S90V steel. I think at this point we have M390 steel fatigue. As great as M390 is, a lot of people are just tired of hearing it because it's on every friggin' knife, especially if it's an imported knife from overseas, which this is. So making the choice into S90V not only gives you a slight upgrade over M390, but it's just nice to hear something different. It is a super steel, has very good edge retention. It has very good corrosion resistance. And all of this comes together in a fantastic package. And when I get past the cons section, then I will go into the specs, and we'll see what that package really is. Now, cons. It's a rather limited list. The first thing is, it's a pro and a con, is the aggressive degree of sharp jimping on this front flipper tab. Now, it's needed because it really grabs a hold of you. Your thumb bites into it, and it allows you to get that perfect flip every time. However, it is abrasive. I don't know if I'm going to be able to really zoom in, but I will try. Oop, change the focus. There we go. That is all from just doing this review right here. That is just tearing up the skin. And I do not have particularly delicate skin. So if you have somewhat softer skin, maybe you work in an office all day, you don't do a bunch of yard work, you're not out doing things that toughen up your skin at all, that is really going to tear you up, and you're probably going to prefer using the thumb studs. Is there really any other con? I think, honestly, for the size that it is, it's a little bit heavy, because you're looking at a 3.35-inch blade, and it weighs almost 4 ounces. It's 3.9 ounces. So it's got quite a bit of heft to it. Now, for me, I appreciate that, because even though heft is not an indication of quality, it is a perception of quality. It just feels more substantial. It feels more rugged somehow. This is going to be, and it's not a huge difference, but it is a little bit heavier. On those days, I would probably rather, if it was going to be a Tuya design, it was going to be a Dave Warren design, I'd probably rather carry the Envy because it's a little bit lighter. So it's not a huge deal for me. It's certainly not a deal breaker, but for those of you that are really watching the weight of the knife, this is going to be a teeny tiny little bit hefty. You may or may not appreciate that. And the last con for me is going to be the lanyard hole. Now, for me personally, I generally don't care too much, but I don't use a lanyard very often. It has to be a very smooth-bodied knife that I have a hard time holding on to or extracting from the pocket, or maybe it's got too tight of a pocket clip, or some reason where I feel I need a lanyard. So about 95% of the time I don't use a lanyard, and because of that, I don't want the flow of the design to be interrupted by a big lanyard hole. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I do know people that will not buy a knife simply based on that. That visually, it bothers the hell out of them. If you're one of those people, well, yep, you got a big old hole in your frame. Just keep that in mind. For me, it's just not that big of a deal to say yay or nay based off of that. I do prefer a more creative method of having a lanyard opening, but it works, and I'm sure it works fine. I'm not going to put a lanyard in there because I have no interest in doing so. It's so funny. I do not like front flippers. But this one, I actually enjoy front flipping a lot. All right, now let's get to the specs. That's always important. I'll put the specs up here. If you need any additional time to read them, just pause the video. So the Tuya Knife Wrath is a titanium frame lock that is priced at $249, which puts it in the bargain basement section of your high-end production knives. It's a front flipper with thumb studs, overall length of 7 3/4 inches, so very, very compact in the pocket. Blade length of 3.35 inches, and a weight of 3.9 ounces. And a standout feature on all of them will be the Damascus pivot collar that, quite honestly, you're not really paying any extra for. These two knives are relatively the same price. It's got a pivot collar as well, but it's not a Damascus pivot collar. So you're getting that at a very, 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 very good price. I can't even believe that they're only $250. And I'm so happy for Dave because this is going to be a massive, massive success. I'm going to have a hard time choosing which is my favorite between the Envy and the Wrath because I really, really like the blade shape on the Envy. I really like the ergonomics. I've grown to love them over the past couple of years, and I carry mine quite often. So it's hard for me to say which one is absolutely 100% better, but this has grown on me very quickly. I've only had it arrived about 2 days ago, and I already really, really, really like it. The action is fantastic. It feels very, very good in the hand, and you've got a number of different designs and choices that you can pick from when you're going to order it. So if you don't like the diamond plate look, that's fine. You can do the Sageha. You can do... I'm going to put them on the screen because I'm blanking at the moment on all the other versions. I believe there's a frag version. So you're going to get a lot of different choices in this one knife. And I think there's going to be something there to satisfy pretty much everybody. It's pretty lightweight. It's got a little bit of heft to it, so it doesn't feel like it's somehow cheap in the hand. But it's not so heavy that it feels laborious to carry along with you. All the way around, I think it's been done extraordinarily well. I love the grinds on here. Beautifully, beautifully done. Nice sharp blade as well. So your primary is a hollow grind with your tip grind being a flat, and then a very accentuated swedge going down the top. Love the flat face pivot. I'm a big, big fan of that. Tuya logo on the reverse side. Pocket clip has been great. Now there's one thing, it's got a good amount of tension to it without being overly strong. However, there's no landing pad underneath it. You have this same diamond texture underneath there, plus you have the accordion style lock bar relief cut. And that may snag your pocket going into your pocket every now and then. It may take an extra second, an extra little push just to make sure it's in securely. But other than that, it's just fantastic. It looks great. It feels great. The action is killer. All the way around, it's an amazing design from Dave and from Tuya Knife. Congratulations, Dave. I'm super happy for you. And to all of you that are picking these up, come back and let me know your thoughts. Please put them in the comments below. What did you think about it when you first unboxed it, the first time you flipped it? Especially if you do not like this style of flipper. A lot of people don't, and I am one of them. This is the only knife that exists in my collection, I think, that has this front flipper mechanism, if you want to call it that, because it works so well, and it's not sticking up, 2 inches out of the frame. Typically, I avoid these. I just really don't like them. But man, this thing opens up with authority every single time. The jimping is perfect. It is so grippy and so grabby. It's almost impossible not to get it to go to full lock. So there you have it, guys. There's my thoughts on the brand new Tuya Knife Wrath. It's fantastic, especially in that lower price range. You're really not going to find very many knives that are going to compete with it, and I don't think you're going to find anything that's going to beat it. The incredible compound grind, the premium steel, the great feel of the knife overall, the exceptional action, the fantastic lockup, everything about it is just exceptionally done, particularly given the price. I think it's a 100% winner. You cannot go wrong with it. Congratulations, Dave. I think you did a great job, and I think this is going to be another feather in your cap. That's it for me, guys. I'm out of here for now, but I'll catch you on the next video.